Hey, all right, welcome back. It's time for another Dueling Excel podcast. I'm Bill Jelen from Mr. Excel. I'll be joined by Mike Girvin from Excel is Fun. This is our episode 173, Loan Service Fee. Mike, I have to apologize in advance. This is going to be an insane one, but it's a real question that came in. And I said, all right, I'm going to try and solve this without pulling out my copy of Ctrl Shift Enter. I want to see if I can just absorb what I've learned from your book. All right. So here's what we have. We have a bank, loan amount, a rate, a term, and of course the payment function, which I've covered before. All right. So that all is normal. But here's the unusual thing: is every month the bank charges a service fee, and that service fee is 0.25%. But that's an annual fee. The way that they actually calculate the service fee is they take the last month's unpaid balance, multiply it by the 0.0025, and then divide by 12 to get the monthly service fee. So we have an amortization table down here that's showing our payment, and then the I payment for how much of that is interest, the P payment for how much of that is principal, what the balance is, and then the service fee. All right, and it totals up down here to $4,314.78 after the life of the loan. All good, right? But it's a real hassle to have to build this 360 row amortization table just to get those numbers, because after all, we can figure out the total principal using the cumulative principal, or the total interest using the cumulative interest payment. All right, and this is saying that we're going from month 1 to month 360. All right, we have those two functions built in, and total paid. Well, hey, that's a no-brainer. That's just the term times the payment. All right, but how do we calculate the service fee in one single formula without having the amortization table at the bottom? All right, so my initial reaction is, all right, well, hey, this is incredibly simple. Just add up all those numbers down there in row 9 through 368, and we get the right answer. But unfortunately, then when we delete the amortization table, the service fee has gone away. All right, so I need a single formula that's going to encapsulate all of that stuff down at the bottom. And first, to wrap my head around this, I had to do, are you ready? Some algebra, right? I had to attack this problem and try and figure out how can I state what's happening down here. And so each month, what we're doing is we're taking the original balance, $100,000, minus the cumulative principal from all of the previous months, times the 0.25% divided by 12. All right, that's what's going on. And oh, Mike, boy, I know somewhere in calculus there was a way to say that we're going to iterate from 1 to 360, right? But geez, is that an integral? I have no idea, right? It's been so long. I can kind of picture me half sleeping in class and the professor talking about this. So I just kind of wrote it here in a little Visual Basic. So from m equals 1 to 360, we're going to take $100,000 minus the cumulative principal from 1 to this month minus 1, right? Because it's always pointing back. See, it's always going to the previous month's balance. So for month 3, I want to see the cumulative principal from 1 to 2. In month 99, I want to see the cumulative principal from 1 to 98. All right, and here's the funny thing about the algebra of this whole thing is we're going to have 360 of these calculations, and in every single one, the first term is always going to be the original loan amount. So we're going to take 360 times that original loan amount. That actually is just incredibly simple as well. That's B1, the loan amount, times the term, times the rate divided by 12. All right, so that green part is actually, it's done. It's the blue part. How can I calculate the cumulative principal from all of the previous months? And so my first attack here was just doing it without a function, incredibly easy, where it's in the first month, it's the answer from column D, which is the P payment, like that. And then each month I'm just adding the previous cumulative principal plus this month's cumulative principal all the way down. All right, so that's just the straight math. But then I wondered, well, is there a way to do this with a function. And I realized that up here, when I wrote this function after the fact, after I learned about cumulative principal, that I had to go through the discovery process of figuring out the cumulative principal payment. All right, so it feels a lot like the payment. So B3, the rate divided by 12, like we do in the payment function, the term, the loan amount, and this time you have to keep it as positive, it can't be negative. And we're going from month 1 to this month. So here, let's come down here. So we're going from month 1 to month 7 to figure it out, and then whether we're paying at the end of the month or the beginning of the month to match the payment function. All right, so there's the formula that for each month would calculate the cumulative principal. The huge question that I had is there a way to do all 359 of these? 359, is it really 359? The first time the cumulative principal of the previous month is going to be 0. So there are 360, but cumulative principal won't allow us to do from 1 to 0, month 1 to 0. So we're just going to do the 359 essentially from month 2 down to month 360, figuring out the cumulative principal from month 1 to month 359. All right, so is there a way to have an array formula that will do this function 359 times and total it all up? All right, so here's where I pulled out a trick from your book, Mike, where we use the row of A1 to A359. That will generate an array from the number 1 to 359. Is it possible to enter a formula and instead of saying, hey, we're going from 1 to 6 or 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, 1 to 9, put all the numbers from 1 to 359. So here's the formula. And I had to wrap it in the sum function, of course, to get it to total up. We hold down Ctrl and Shift and press Enter, and remarkably, it works, right? So now I have one formula that's doing the blue part. It's doing the blue part. The green part was already done. That's simple. That's just the original loan amount times 360. And now I have a formula that is doing the blue part. So down here, all right, I'm jazzed at this point because it's all working, right? Take that 360 times the loan amount minus the cumulative interest payment times the rate divided by 12, and I get the answer. But at this point, I have the answer in 3 cells instead of 1 cell. I want to have a single formula that does this whole thing. And boy, I don't know, is it possible to take just a really simple calculation like this and add it to a really complex array formula like that, and then multiply the whole thing? Amazingly, we take this formula, K4 minus K11 divided by 12. All right, so or K14. So we're going to go to the blue part, and we'll copy that. Control C. We'll scoop that out, as Mike says, and paste it in here. Beautiful. Of course, that's going to work. And then I'm going to take the array formula, that whole thing except for the equal sign, scoop that out, Control C, come down here and replace that in K11. Hold down Control Shift Enter, and I'll be darned, it comes up with the exact same answer that we did with looking at all 360 rows. So here's my answer. This insane formula right here. Control Shift Enter, and the real test, of course, is can we delete all the rows of the amortization table? EDR. Crushing, it didn't work. Undo, undo, undo. All right. Why didn't that work? Oh, because here I'm actually referring to rows A1 to A359. I'm referring to those rows, so I can't delete. But what I can do is come down here and just Alt-EAA to edit clear all. There we go. And now it's still pointing down to those rows. All right, so there you go. The craziest array form that I ever wrote without looking at Control Shift Enter. Now Mike says, send this to me. I'll see if I can improve it. Let's see what you've got.
Thanks, Mr. Excel. Oh my heavens, that is a beautiful formula. Not only that, but I love the way you did your algebra and your VBA, M1 to 360. The thought process that you went into creating this is exactly similar to the way I've done it so many times. You're not sure, but you just keep hacking away at it, trying different things, and then boom, that's beautiful. Now, I'm just going to change a few things. I'll change this to ROW and INDIRECT to create an array of sequential numbers. So if we delete any rows, we won't get that error. Maybe I'll use SUMPRODUCT instead of sum so we don't have to use Ctrl Shift Enter. And I always like to make my sub calculations in the cell. Now we're going to start with that awesome function, Cumulative Principal. Now we're going to take the rate, and I already calculated it, not 3% divided by 12. Did that in the cell. So boom, comma, NPER, that's 360, comma, present value, that's that 100K right there. And the starting period, 1, comma, and here's the ending period. Now what I'd like to do is just go, hey, 1 colon in double quotes and join it to the 360. Now right now that would be ridiculous if I F9 it. You could see it's 1 to 360. It's sort of looking like a row reference except for its text. Control Z. Well, the indirect function takes text that represents a reference and converts it back to a reference. The problem with indirect right now is this is rows 1 to 360. There's a lot of cells in that range. So if I F9, it won't let me. That's too big. So I'm simply going to believe that it actually did that and put it inside a row. Row will have no problem seeing all of the rows and giving me, boom, F9. 1 to 360. Now, I don't want 360, so Control Z, I'm simply going to say right here, -1. That -1 will occur before ampersand. Ampersand happens like way at the bottom of the order of operations in Excel. Comma. And here's a weird thing. I just taught Cumulative Principal in my Advanced Excel class the other day. This type argument in most financial functions has a square bracket, and it's optional. But here, you have to pick end or begin. So I'm picking 0 for end, close parentheses. Now, this will come out if we highlight this. What's happening right there, that's a function argument or array operation. It's expecting a single period. We give it a bunch. So when we highlight it, it's going to give us F9, all of those different answers. Now look up here as Mr. Excel said, -171, -374, -516. These are the cumulative principal paid off so far. So Control Z. If we were to add all of these up, I'm going to use SUMPRODUCT instead of sum, and I'm not going to put a minus because it'll pop out negative, and when I enter, that's adding up all of the cumulatives as a minus. So I'm simply going to say, well, if that's all the cumulatives for every single period, the original amount times 360 would be as if we had the original amount that many different times, and we'll subtract that. So I'm simply going to say, boop, 100,000 times that 360, and then add that negative, and boom, there's the full amount. If you were to Control Shift down arrow, that's that whole amount right there. F2, and now I need to multiply that times this 0.25 divided by 12, which I've already done, and enter. You gotta be kidding me. Now let's test this. I'm going to click on the row header 14, Control Shift down arrow, right click key delete to delete them. And this one looks like it's working. It's only pointing at these inputs up here. This one's still working a little bit, but it looks like a lot of rows got deleted there. Escape, Control Z. Now, the one downside to using this little construction here is indirect is a volatile function, so it'll recalculate every time you do anything in this spreadsheet. Hey, for something like this where we have just some small inputs, that's probably not a problem. Escape, that is some amazing fun with array formulas and some awesome creativity with the Cum Principal function by Mr. Excel. All right, I'm going to throw it back to Mr. Excel.
Mike, Array Formula Master Girvin, that was beautiful. What an excellent way to dramatically improve that formula that I struggled to get. Fascinating, fascinating. All right, so hey, I want to thank everyone for stopping by. We'll see you next time for another Dueling Excel podcast from Mr. Excel, and Excel is fun.
Formulas for VBA, Control Shift Enter or a macro way. Well, there's Mike G on the CSE, Billy J getting down with the VBA. Oh my, it's the Dueling Excel guy.